What's going on, Strange Gang? Welcome back to the channel. All things strange. It's your man, Dr. Strange. And man, I appreciate you coming back to the block. I'm here. You see my special guest on the screen. One of my all-time favorite comic book YouTube channels, personalities. Got to meet him face to face. Man, as cool as the other side of the pillow. Reggie Collects. What is going on, my brother?
Hey man, the other side of the pillow in the middle of the night is a special thing.
Yo.
It's a special thing in the summertime, man. You flip it over
Ooh.
and it's like, ooh, I just found some instant relief.
Yo, bro. When I found out the trick, I was like, "Oh, it's not just a saying. It really, all right, this works, man." Man,
Real talk. No, it's a pleasure. It was good to catch up with you, man, at the VV Live party at New York Comic Con. It was an absolute pleasure. I didn't know that I would be recognized at that party. So it was cool not only to be recognized, but also to just have an enjoyable conversation. So thank you for that.
oh man, thank you right back. Yeah, I didn't expect to see you there. I knew you were at Comic Con, but that's the last place I expected to see you, man. And it should have dawned on me a little bit though, because in all actuality, I don't know if this is total fact. I don't have like all the YouTube analytics, but personally, you were the first that I can remember that was a 100% comic book dedicated channel that covered Vivi. Like you were the first one that I saw do that,
Yeah,
and not just like once. Like you brought it up a couple times here and there. So I
yeah,
kind of knew you were in the project, but it's hard to gauge. Where you're at with it now. So seeing you at the party was definitely like, oh snap, and like you said, man, we just had like one of the realest conversations. It was mad down to earth. You're exactly how I thought you would be, a real one.
yeah,
And what blew me away about you though in our conversation was, and maybe you could help me understand where your head was at.
yeah.
But you was like, yo, what's up with the Vivi app? And you like literally had me open my app and go through my collectibles. And y'all, this dude was not letting it go. Like I was trying to steer the conversations out the way. He's like, nah, but let me see what else you got though. Like he looked scrolling my phone down. I was like, yo, this dude's really not playing around, yo.
Yeah, I mean the thing about it, man, is that I think one of the cool things is when you have an opportunity to meet somebody and they're passionate about something, you want to enjoy them being passionate about that thing. You know what I'm saying? And you want to take the time to make it not about you, but about them and what they're into. And I use it as a learning opportunity because I'm like, I don't know that I've ever looked inside someone else's VV collection. So okay, so you're at this party for a reason. Let's see what it takes to be here and to be official with this VV. And so it was cool for me just to peruse what it is that you've picked up and to hear the enthusiasm and the excitement that you have for VV and what you've picked up and the rationale behind it. That was what was fun for me. Sitting somewhere and talking about me isn't necessarily my thing, but enjoying someone else's passion is part of what makes the hobby fun. So, that maybe that helps you have some insight into why,
Tons of insight now.
Yeah.
My only regret from that
Yeah.
meeting is not getting to show you my comic collection, because my comic collection is just as impressive as the collectibles. So I mean, with us both being comic guys, I felt a little like, damn, I didn't give them everything I
Yeah.
had, but man,
But I
it was
but I
so
but
cool.
I've seen impressive comic collections. Like I've
Yeah,
seen some really amazing stuff, but I
yeah,
but Vivi is a little different for me. So I have a feeling that that won't be the last party that I'm at. It certainly won't be the last one you're at. So I'm sure that there will be ample opportunities for me to
yes.
peruse your collection. But again, just being able to see what it is that you've picked up, that is part of what made that party enjoyable for me. So again, thank you for that.
Right, absolutely. And thank you, man. For me, everything kind of like, in a sense, came full circle because I had interviewed you, well, partially interviewed you with my boy Joe on Big Collectibles channel. And I wasn't able to attend, but I was in the chat, in the live chat, and you touched on your experiences growing up and things like that. We're definitely going to dig into that a little bit. And once you brought up Howard, I was in the live chat, and I was like, "Yo, my sister went to Howard," and then that was our connection. Like, even when we met face to face, I kind of had to remind you who I was. I'm like, how's he gonna remember me out of
Yeah,
all these random things he's done? And
yeah.
once I brought up Howard in that conversation, you're like, yeah, I remember you,
That
Strange.
helps.
Like,
That helps. I can typically remember a lot of people. I won't necessarily always remember a name or a face, to be honest. But there's sometimes something that is drawn in the sand where I'm like, oh, I remember that conversation. I read that comment. So that was cool. But I want to backtrack to something you said about my channel potentially being one of the first to talk about VV.
yes.
Um, there's a reason for that, right?
Mm,
Part of what I try to do with my channel is I'm always trying to be on the edge of something, right? Of like some news that comes out, right? The goal is to not be like every other channel out there. And we had been hearing a lot about this VV thing. A lot of people were like, I don't want to do that. And so I was like, well, here's the thing. If I'm a comic collector and there's comics on there, and I'm a content creator and I'm trying to differentiate myself, why would I not at least look at it and check it out so that when people ask me a question, I can be knowledgeable about that to say,
yeah.
well, here's what it is, or here's what I think that it is. You may want to check it out, right? I am typically against those things where people are like, that's bad, where they're just automatically like, that's bad. Well, why? Tell me why. What research have you done to conclude that you've done no research? So now you're
Mm,
discredited, right? So
right.
my thing is, if my goal for my channel is to help people be smarter about the hobby of comic book collecting, then I have to explore aspects of the hobby of comic book collecting, and that includes the digital space. So that's why I was pretty early on. One, because I'm kind of sort of inquisitive about those things, but then two, I didn't want somebody to ask me a question and me not to have a good answer and to have some understanding. So
Right.
I just wanted to backtrack to hit that one
I
point.
love it. I love it. I appreciate it, man. That was the answer I was looking for, but totally forgot to hone back in on.
All
That's
good.
why you are the perfect guest to have on. Keep me in line. You know what I'm saying? Keep me professional, man. When I fall off the rails. So,
All good.
oh man, appreciate you, man. So yeah, I want to dig in a little bit to your past. You might remember some of this, some of these questions from when you did the big collectibles interview, because I played an instrumental part in the production of that and some of the questions. So I'd like to do a hard reset just because we're a little far off. I have a whole bunch of different viewers, and I want everybody to get to know you in the way that I got to know you a little bit better just from that one interview, much less sitting down and talking. Shout out to Mom Dukes, Sheila, for preserving all of your stuff. I never forget that. We're gonna touch on Sheila. Oh,
Uh,
she's doing well. How's she
I
doing?
I just saw her 2 days ago for Thanksgiving, and
I bet.
she was supposed to come over today, and she didn't make it over here, so I think I'll see her tomorrow. But yeah,
All
she's
right.
doing well. She's doing.
All
Thank you
right.
for asking, man.
Absolutely, my bro. Definitely, man. Growing up, um, I'm guessing you didn't know it in real time that she was such a preservationist, that it was gonna look out for you with some of your comics and collectibles and things. Or did you know in real time, like, she's gonna be stashing these away and I'm good?
Yeah, my mom
Give your mom
generally.
give the people a rundown on how Mom Dukes is real quick.
Yeah, so my mother, so I was raised by a single woman until I was basically 13. So I was raised by my family, right? Because my mom had me when she was 17. So I was raised by my grandmother, great grandmother, right? That was just the way that it was done. Aunts,
Yeah.
uncles, the whole nine yards. But even at an early age, my mother wasn't really big on throwing stuff away, right? She always was sentimental about certain things, right? So I have early report cards from my childhood. I have paintings, and the first book that I ever wrote and drew, she still has that. She has a lock of my hair. I have a Michael Jackson jacket, right? So that my mom will throw stuff away, but there's certain things that she will protect. And at a
Nice.
certain point, as you get older, she will give you some of those things back. Not everything, right?
Wow.
But when I went away to college, my mother and stepfather, technically my father, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
don't make a distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they basically took care of my collection while I was away. Well, for 10 or so years while I was away. And super thankful for them because many of the books that they protected are in this room right now.
Oh
So
my
I'm
goodness.
super thankful for her. But she was always that type of person where she would have those sentimental items or those important items, and she would protect them for you, technically from you, because
Ah,
you know how people can be,
exactly.
kids, right?
Oh man.
Destructive. You're moving around, you lose stuff, people
Yep.
steal stuff, right? All kinds of
Oh
stuff.
man.
My
Right.
mother was a very protective person and continues to be to this day.
Oh man, it's awesome, man. Yeah, growing up, I was kind of like, you know how it is when you're super super young. You know, you don't have any friends yet and stuff like that. I did have an older brother and sister though,
Mm,
but they are at least 10 years older than me.
mm,
So it was like, imagine I'm one. My brother's whatever, right?
yes.
So he's already, and especially back in those days, one foot in the house, one foot out the house. Sister
Yep.
was even older, so I kind of grew up alone for a little stint until it's like, you go to school, then you have your little school friends, and then
Yep.
once you're able to leave the yard, now you can have friends around your neighborhood, and you start, on the bikes and that whole era. So how was it like when you were growing up? Did you have sisters, brothers, siblings, stuff like that? Older brother to throw you in the headlock and do all that stuff, a sister to get on your nerves, anything like that?
So I'm the oldest child and grandchild, and technically great grandchild. Because again, my mom had me when she was 17, so
Right.
everybody came after me.
Wow.
So I basically grew up with my mother, right, to
Right.
some degree, right, and grew up with her brothers and sisters. So it was my uncles that were putting me in the headlock because they
Oh
weren't
boy.
that much older than me. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
boy.
But yeah, so I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, man, and Detroit in the 70s and 80s was not
Oof.
a friendly place,
Oh
right?
boy. Oh
So
boy.
we grew up in a cocoon, if you will,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because the same women that taught my aunts, uncles, and mother at school were the same women that taught me in school.
Oh yeah, I know about
Their
that.
friends that lived up the street were
Right.
the parents of my friends,
Wow.
right? So it was a little bit of this cocoon where
Yes.
you go, from Walter and Quadre's house on this end to Sharon's house on this end, and that's all you know,
That's all
right?
you know. And
That's
when that light come on,
Oh, man, if you're not
listen,
already like walking between
on
the
your way.
house, you in trouble.
It's
So,
done.
so my that was my world, literally from one end of the block to the other end of the block. That included the alleyways because
Yes.
we were playing the
Yes.
alleyways in Detroit. But my world was very small and protected. Like everything we
Yeah.
did was that small neighborhood
Yes.
and church. Like that was
Yes.
it. You
Yup.
know.
Yep, man, that was them days, man, where community took care of each other.
Yep.
Neighbors weren't just someone that lives next to you. Like
Yep.
you can get your tail whooped by somebody down the street that what I'm saying, your parents
I
is cool.
the old lady across the street, I used to take out her trash. I was scared to
Right,
death of her because
right.
she old, right? But
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
took out her trash, and that was the community, man. And it was
Right.
you were in and out of people's house, and if they said something, it was as good as your parents saying that because
Facts.
again, they
Mm,
walk right up the street
mm.
or call right up the
Oof,
street, and it's
boy,
on.
it's
So
on.
yeah, so it's different. But to be honest, I'm trying to create that same thing for my children.
Right.
My wife grew up so that was the early part of my life. After that, things went kind of crazy. But my wife grew up in basically the same area her entire life.
Oh wow.
And so what I'm trying to do for my children is to give them that same cocoon, that consistency of
Mm,
life that my wife had that I didn't necessarily have after the early part of my life.
mm. Got you. Yeah, man, that's a great foundation to lay down and
Trying,
put into action. Yeah, man.
trying. Yeah.
Especially in today's world, it's extremely hard. So many external forces, and Ooh, it's a
Yeah,
lot, man.
yeah.
It's a lot. So let's stick with back in the days, man. What cartoons were you watching at the time growing up?
Oh man, I think I watch everything, right? Like all the stuff, the
Yeah,
Smurfs,
yeah.
um, the Jetsons, the
Right.
Flintstones,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
Then eventually it was GI Joe and the Transformers and Silverhawks. It was the classic
Yes.
shows, right?
Yeah.
Masters of the Universe. Like I watched all that. Like
Oh,
what's funny is I watched my boy, and I watch my boy stand in front of the TV and watch TV, right? Mouth partially open, sometimes fully open, and it's me.
right.
That
That
was me.
bugged out, right?
Yeah, we used to have this massive microwave. Like you back in the day, microwave's
Yeah.
big, man, right?
Huge. Yeah.
And on top of it was a TV. And I remember standing in the kitchen staring at this tiny TV on top of this massive microwave. And it's literally my boy now, But I watched all the classic cartoons.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Me and my friend were just talking about today. He was saying how the TV in his house was black and white. You remember those days? And he was like, whenever I go to my grandmother's house, right? Yeah. Whenever I go to grandma's house, we get the color action. And he was saying how one time he was in school arguing with some kids because the movie he watched, he thought it was in black and white.
Mm.
And they're like, nah, man, it's in color. And he's like, no, it's not. It's in black and white. I'm
Man, I remember, man, turning the knobs, It was
Hey,
like,
you gotta get that aluminum foil out for the
oh
rabbit
man.
ears if that ain't coming through clear. Remember that? Like you could watch a channel, but it's about how clear it was.
I remember. You
That's
got to turn
deep.
I think it was like the bottom knob or the back knob. You had to
Yeah,
rotate
that's
it to
that thing.
sharpen it.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, people
People
don't
don't
even know
know,
how good
man.
they have it now.
Yo, you watching
They
stuff on
don't
your
know how good.
phone. Like, imagine someone told us when we were kids, you would have a phone that you could watch football. You could watch whatever you want on football live. Like,
You a
yeah,
straight
right.
up liar.
Yeah, like,
Straight up
what
liar.
you talking about, man? This guy,
Straight
man.
up liar. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, again, I remember the black and white TVs and playing the video games with the single
Oh
joystick
man.
joint with the one button. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
That was it.
Atari. Man. If somebody told us it would be like, yo, you could play games on your phone, we'd be
What?
sitting there
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Real talk, real talk.
you know what I'm saying? So
It's
it's
a lot has changed, man. I mean, the other part of it is I wish I had known that things were going to change because I would have
oh,
preserved all that stuff
oh my goodness,
and
forget it.
cashed in big time.
Big
So
time,
yeah,
man. We would have been retired right now.
yeah.
Like, get it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
because I mean,
saying?
my boy has a lot of because the stuff that we watched as kids, that stuff's coming back around, right?
Yeah,
And
man.
it's been around. Masters of the Universe,
Right.
Voltron, Transformers, that stuff's coming back around. My boy's watching this stuff, and I wish, like, I have one of my Voltron, right? Because my mom didn't throw anything away, right? One of my Voltron, and mine is so tiny compared to my boys. And I'm like, man, your Voltron's massive. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But I wish that I still had, all those original toys from back when I was a kid because it would be cool to put those on a shelf in the same way I had the comics,
Right,
But
right.
Quadre stole some of my GI Joes up the block.
Good old
So
Quadre, man. Every neighborhood got a Quadre, yo. Man, but yo, not for nothing, those
yeah,
Voltron toys specifically were extremely dangerous, bro. If you had the original ones, them joints was like die cast metal. They was like 5 pounds
heavy,
each lion.
heavy. Yeah.
And I mean, when you connected them together, it felt like you was like a
Trying to
construction
carry.
work. Like, yeah, like that
I've
was
got the
serious.
black lion in the closet.
Ooh, and that was it. Was that the chess piece? Was that
That
the
was the
biggest
chess
one?
piece.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, I got the
man.
black line. That was one that survived along with Moss Man and
Mm.
and the head to one of the Voltrons back when they were spaceships. When they were
Yes,
spaceships,
remember the 15?
not,
Yeah,
not the
the 15,
lions. Yeah,
right?
so
The
I've got the
15
head
vehicles.
to
Yeah,
one. Yeah, the
yeah,
vehicles.
yeah.
And then I may have one of the legs somewhere. It was like a little
Right.
narrow,
Yeah, that
little
piece.
black
Right.
thing.
Yes.
It didn't do much. It flipped down
No.
on the ends, and that was it.
Right. You're supposed to imagine like that is something like a plane or a stealth something.
No,
I don't know.
it was a box. It was a
That
rectangle,
was it.
bro.
That was it. Yeah. But play with it. Play with it. That's all you got. Remember GoBots? They didn't even do nothing.
They didn't
Oh
do anything. I
man.
remember GoBots. I remember
Lord.
bootleg. Bootleg.
Bootleg, man. And then you go to the World Store, they have bootlegs of that bootleg out there. You know what I'm saying? What is this? A Flowbot? Oh man.
Well done. Well done.
So um what toys, if any, are your kids playing with today?
Yeah. Everything, man. Like my kids were real big on Paw Patrol for a while.
Mm.
Like we went to the live action
Oh
of Paw
wow.
Patrol, sat in the front row,
Wow.
man. I had a good time. I had a good
Wow.
time up in that Joker.
That's
Then
dope.
we went to the after party where we got to meet the actors,
Wow.
but real big on Paw Patrol. Like we had all the towers and all the figures and the different iterations of the figures. So that was huge. We're pushing all the Paw Patrol out because they're not really doing much with it now.
Mm-hmm.
My boy then got into Hot Wheels big time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hot Wheels City, the garage, all of the connecting pieces. He's got
Yeah.
all the Hot Wheels.
Wow.
But his new thing, and then he did Masters of the Universe for a while. So we have
Wow.
Skeletor and all He-Man, the whole thing, and that brings back straight memories from my childhood.
I was gonna ask that. It
Yeah.
has to.
Yeah, same thing with Voltron. At one point, man, I took his Voltron and I hid it in my closet.
Right. Can't
Because
appreciate it.
No, he did, and it's
Ah.
expensive, bro. Like it
Yeah.
was not cheap, and he was
Mm.
not treating it right. So I hid it for maybe 4 or 5 months, and then he was like, "Yeah, where's my Voltron?" I was like, "Man, I guess I gotta give it back." So I ended up giving it back. What's funny is he showed it to me like 3 days ago. He's like,
Oh
"Dad, I
wow.
put it together, and I just wanted you to see it." It still
Wow.
has all the pieces. But my boy is really big right now on Legos.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of Legos, man. Like his room he has multiple shelves in his room full of Lego sets, and I'm talking the 18-year-old sets, right? The
Wow.
big Black Panther bust, the Thanos bust, the Black Panther ships and all this stuff. Like he's put together some massive Ninjago is another type of Lego. So my girl's into all the Barbies and girl stuff that I don't pay LOL. I don't pay
Right.
attention to stuff.
Right. A little out your league.
Yeah. Not my
Yeah.
jam. Not my
Yeah,
jam.
yeah. So like we were talking about, man, on the big Collectibles channel, first time we interviewed and all that.
Yeah.
We found out we had that mutual connection with Howard University, all that good stuff. Did you now when you were there, what was your experience like? I have a feeling that you pledged. I have a feeling.
Couple
You
of
did.
times.
Now I'm trying to guess which one, because like your business acumen makes me think you're an alpha.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
then
Not.
but then you got like the rough edge, right? So I'm thinking you were Q, but then you got the playboy aspect. So you might be like my boy Drew Spencer. You might be a Kappa. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. You know.
So I went to Howard, man, in '94.
Right.
Went to Howard in '94. And it was the greatest experience ever. Like I went to Howard because my uncle spoke at Howard, and he spoke at Howard. He came home. And he was like, "You're going to Howard," and I was like, "Cool." Like I didn't know. I was like, "Cool." I applied to Bowling Green,
Okay.
Michigan State, and Howard, and got
Mhm.
accepted to all three,
Mhm.
and went to Howard and loved every moment of it. So at Howard, this may be true at other historically Black colleges and universities, I don't know, but you pledge for everything. So I pledged freshman year an organization called Gentlemen of Drew.
Mm.
This was the dorm that I lived in, bro.
Okay.
We pledged the dorm, right?
Nice.
And there was a process that we went through, and shortly after that, I pledged another organization, Phi AMU, that is no longer around. That the Kappas weren't really around until like I was about to leave Howard,
Okay.
and wasn't selected for that process. I then became a Kappa graduate
Okay.
after. So I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. My uncle is a Kappa, my brother is a Kappa, and then I'm one as well. So there's 3 of us in the family that are
That's dope.
all noobs.
That's dope, man. Shout out to all the Kappas out there.
Yes,
You know what
sir.
I'm
Yes,
saying? All
sir.
the frat brothers in general,
Yeah.
man. Everybody took that leap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
man.
that's what's up, man. I love how everybody stays connected, and it's just a great thing, man. So after you graduated, you're like, all right, I'm in DC, man. What am I doing with myself? What did you do after that?
I would at the time I was a journalism major in undergrad, history minor, journalism, news editorial major. So I realized that journalists don't make a lot of money, and I like nice stuff, right? I like
Right,
to eat, you know.
right,
So I realized that writing for a living wasn't going to be my jam. So I actually
right.
started working for a PR firm.
Mm,
Um, and I worked for that PR firm for a couple of years. There was a woman that I was dating at the time. She wanted to go to law school, so we were like, "Hey, let's do it." We ended up moving out to LA,
oh wow,
and I created a job for myself with that PR firm at their basically Glendale, California office. So
wow.
I transferred out, was still working for the PR agency while she went to law school. But yeah, I basically was in PR writing articles for their intranet, posting stuff on their intranet. It was basically like IT slash
Mm,
PR slash journalism is what I was
right.
doing. Yeah,
Wow. And real quick, man,
yeah.
if anybody doesn't know, head on over to the YouTube channel, Reggie Collects Comics, man. I guarantee you, I mean, you got some big players out there. You got the swagger houses of the world. But for me, I mean, Reggie goes what, at least once live once a week, right?
At least, yeah,
At
at least once.
least.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I fall off in my personal life, all I gotta do is tap in with his channel. I know what comics are dropping for the week. I know what movies just popped off. I get a little bit of a review of that. I mean, man, when I combine your live streams along with, because I need the people to know about this, along with Reggie Collects .com, when you put it all together, I mean, there's no way you don't know what is going on in the world here. I mean,
There you go.
look at this, man. He got all of this here for you. You know what I'm saying? Link you right to the YouTube. Got the products on deck. I love the name Swolger.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always loved it. When I first saw it, I was like, wait, okay, so he got the bodybuilding that. Oh, he tied it. Oh, and then he got the
Tie,
flag on it. I see what you're doing. I see
tied them together, man.
tie it all together,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So, yo, be sure to check out reggiecollects.com. Man, so many things I gotta tap into going on that you have going on, but I gotta take it in baby steps. I don't want to get overwhelmed here. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on. So y'all, you'll see it right there on the screen at the bottom. Reggie Collects Comics. That's the YouTube. Oh man, so, and I'm going to be dropping all his info in the description of the video as well. So you're going to want to link in as far as that goes. And man, so yeah, speaking of bodybuilding, at what point did you get into bodybuilding? Was this like before college, after college, and what did it lead to? I think you were uh, took the whole journalism and writing things into a whole couple of different publications at one point too, right?
yeah. Yeah, so my first article was published when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
So I was still living at home, man. I went to this religious retreat with my church, and ended up writing an article that was published in the Detroit Free Press. And
Wow.
that's part of the reason why I majored in journalism, was because I could put together some sentences in a publication. But I did the whole writing thing in undergrad, newspaper, yearbook. I did all that stuff. Graduated, was still doing some writing on the side, but like I said, went into PR. But I parlayed that eventually into the pharmaceutical industry, because if you can communicate written, oftentimes you can communicate verbally as well. So I went
Right.
into pharmaceuticals, and I've done that for now over 20 years, a little bit over 20 years at this point. But I went into bodybuilding, man, when I was working crazy hours, and
Mm,
I was in a bad relationship, and started running to relieve stress. Between the
mhm,
job and the marriage, it was just stressful.
mm.
And I came home from this run, man, and I saw my abs in the glass of the door, and I was like, I got abs. It's like,
Hmm.
I think I could do that, right? So, as silly as it may sound, that motivated me to start going to the gym and
Wow.
lifting because
Right.
I believed what people told me back in the day that if it's genetics, if you don't have that in your family, then you don't have that capacity, right? Which was
Mm.
all nonsense.
Yeah.
It's about hard work and consistency, but when you grow up hearing these things, that becomes your reality,
That's a
right?
fact.
And so I went to the gym, man. I started working out. I met this woman named Wendy. Wendy was like, they have these competitions for bodybuilding. I was like, ooh, well, I come from a religious family. I'm not wearing a banana hammock, Wendy. And she was like, it's not a banana hammock. She was like, they wear board shorts. I was like, word, right?
Okay.
Looked into it. I then signed up for a competition and ended up doing a competition that same year, shortly after I met her.
Wow.
But ended up getting divorced and started channeling my energy into going to the gym. It was a better outlet for me versus some of the other stuff that I could have been doing. I did some of the other stuff too, but this is a more productive thing, right? So
Mhm.
going to the gym and needing to relieve that stress helped me, and I ended up putting on some size, hiring a coach, meeting my now wife, who was another competitor at the gym,
Wow.
and started lifting like crazy, man. Started doing competitions, appeared on magazines, appeared on websites. I was in magazines all around the world, and it was just fun, right?
Right.
And then we had a kid, and she was like, so I think you're done. And I was like, I think you're right. So they moved into comics. I put that energy all
Right.
into comics.
Oh man, that's a great story, man. I was very curious, how you got started and
Yeah.
all those great things that it led to, man. It's amazing, man. You never know when you start these things where it's gonna go, but it's awesome to hear how you have the mindset and wherewithal to figure out a way to tie them all together.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, I
Yep.
noticed you keep things tied in close together.
Yep.
And I think that's an important element as you elevate into these different things. It still give yourself some familiarity to build upon, so you're not always feeling like a fish out of water.
Yep. But it,
So
it it allows you to tell a good story as well,
mhm,
right? Like
mhm,
with your, even though I've done journalism and kind of sort of IT and then pharmaceutical sales and now marketing, um, those previous experiences help me as a marketer, right? Because if I'm building a website for my company, I built websites from scratch, right?
right,
So like I know when I'm talking to my agency how to build it, and I can talk the language, right? And I can actually write and or rewrite some of
mm,
the stuff that they've written, right? But
right,
it's like, can you tell a story? Can you connect the dots? And
mm,
like even now with the comic stuff, to your point about Swolger, it all ties back. Like some of my early videos were about the subjective nature of grading. Much like stepping on a stage, it is subjective. Yeah, there are rules and guidelines,
mhm,
but it's a subjective art form,
right,
kind of sort of like grading a comic, right? So a
right,
lot of my early content was straddling that line between things that I've done before and this new thing that I'm in. And it's like I had a lot of people early on when I made the transition to comics that were like, this guy's, he's just coming over here trying to get popular with comics. And I'm like, dude,
yeah,
I've been collecting comics since I was a kid. Get out of here. And
exactly.
going back to Vivi, people were like, well, what do you know about Vivi? Well, I
Mm,
can show you my join date on the Vivi app, sir, to
facts,
show you. And not only
facts,
did I talk about it, but I've been buying Vivi for a while. So no, get out of here,
right,
And it's
man,
like I want to be able to tell a story, but to tell an authentic story that actually makes sense. And that's what
facts.
these little breadcrumbs, if you will, allow me to do.
Right. Now, what age did you start taking comic collecting serious? Because I know,
From the beginning.
we really.
From the beginning. Yeah.
So, what
Like,
age was this? Because I know we didn't grow up with a lot necessarily, but
no,
you
no,
had that
absolutely.
collector's mindset early on.
But the things that I had, I treasured,
That's
right?
how I
Much
was.
like my mom, right? Much like
Right.
Sheila, right? So
Right.
we didn't have a ton, but the things that I had, I took care of. So
That's how I
I was collecting probably in middle school,
was. Okay.
and I was bagging and boarding all of my comics. I
Yes.
might not have been able to afford the boards, but I
Right.
made the boards.
Make a way, baby.
Right. I
Cereal
made them
box.
out of material, right?
Right.
Clipped it, and I
Right.
would do front back with my back, right? And I would have everything bagged and boarded in the first two boxes.
Mhm.
And then if it was a book I didn't like, it went in the third box, which may or may not have been bagged and boarded, right?
Right. Right.
But that's what I did. And from an early age, I took care of my stuff.
Right.
And that's why, like, I can send books from my original collection now and have those jokers come back at high grades because I took care of them. I read them. Sometimes I fell asleep in them, on them, but I still took care of all of my stuff, man.
Right. Right. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we're sitting down. We're here. We ain't sitting down. Actually, we're standing up. We're here on the block, man. And I'm here with my man Reggie Collects, the best comic books YouTube channel in the space, in my opinion. I don't know what else you want. Man is going at least live once a week, giving you insight into the latest and greatest in comics. So much insight, so many years of experience that goes into what he does, and it definitely shines through when you're watching. So, like you see on the bottom of the screen right there, scrolling by, hit up the channel, man. I don't know what else you're waiting for. But Reggie, one of my favorite websites, because I do have a segment called Stacking the Slacking on my channel. I pretty much cover all comic related VV drops. And I try to put things in perspective, a little bit. So one thing I like to do, especially if they're covering like a modern comic, is I like to head on over to Key Collector just to see if there are any variants and then get an idea of like what we're getting versus what's their reality. So I just happened to be on the website and something said, see if Reggie Collects is on here. So I put you in the search engine and I found
Uh,
out a very interesting piece of information about you. So it says here on Key Collector Comic that it says recently. We don't know how recently is, but it says that you recently acquired a comic book collection of 100,000 comics.
yeah.
That's not a rumor. That's not a typo, huh?
No, it's facts. It's facts.
So can you tell us
Underline.
about how you acquired such a large collection? I need to know.
Yeah, so it came about because of the channel.
Mm,
I've been putting out content for years now, and so in my real life, I don't have a ton of friends that collect comics, right? So
right.
part of the reason why I created my channel was because I saw a bunch of guys like Jim Mint, Reaper Tate, ETA Nick, sell my comics, right? Who I had a chance to meet at the VV party.
Oh wow.
Yeah. They were putting out this content and they were just having fun talking about comics, right? So I wanted to have that kind of fun, right? So as I made that transition from bodybuilding into comics, it was partly because of my wife. She was like, you need something to put your energy in. She was like,
Right.
you should collect comics again, because my mother and my father had just given me my collection not that long before
Wow.
that, right?
See how that all lines up?
So
Mhm.
it all lined up. So I jump back in, I watch these guys. I'm like, they are having a whole lot of fun. I want to do that as well. So I started creating content. The content got out there and people started to reach out to me. You know, Wise would reach out. Christmas is coming up. His birthday is
Wow.
coming up. He watches you. What should I get for him? Right.
Mm,
So a lot of people started to reach out, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? And
mhm.
eventually somebody reached out and was like, hey, I just inherited this collection from my uncle. I don't know what to do with it. So I'm like, let's figure it out.
Right.
I'm like, you should, and I gave a ton of advice. You should
Right.
catalog. You want to figure out
Right.
what's in there. You want to figure out, are you going to sell it? Are you going to keep it? If you're going to sell it,
Mhm.
you need to know what's in it. You need to have an asking price. You need to figure out who you're going to sell it to and how, right? So the person after a while was like, we want you to buy it. I was like, no,
Wow.
no, thank you. I had no interest in that,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I actually flew up to see it because I was gonna, get some books out of it. So I flew up. Like, I had never seen that many comics in a private collection. So I get there and I'm like, there's a lot of books, And I kind of came up with Swolger while I was there in the storage facility because and I was still big at the time. I was still, still competing.
Right.
lifting these boxes and I'm huffing and puffing. And I'm like, man, this is a workout, you know, and because it
Right.
were long boxes,
Oh,
right?
wow.
I'm like, this is not for the faint of heart, right?
Wow.
And it took probably over a year before my wife and the family convinced me to buy the collection.
Wow.
So I ended up buying it, and had coincidentally we had a mover friend
Mhm.
that was in the area where the collection was when I
Man,
reached out to him.
this is lining all up for your
It was
boy.
bananas.
Wow.
So he loads it up, 30,000 pounds
What?
of comics, and drives it down to me.
I mean, what
30,000 pounds.
was the price tag like on that? I mean, you gotta get specifics.
Oh,
with
we're not
what
gonna
the
talk
tag-
about the price tag. We're not gonna
Was
talk
it was
about the price
crazy though? Was it
No,
crazy?
it was, you know, I think that you know, when you spend time talking with somebody that is passionate about something, and that passion becomes energizing for the other party, and they're that's not really their jam. They're like, we want you to have this because you're going to be a good steward for it, and because you're clearly passionate about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't talk about the family, the real the details of it out of respect for them. Like to
Mhm.
this day, no one, I've never told anyone who I bought it from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And how much I paid.
Right.
Just because, one, it makes me uncomfortable. Two, out of respect.
Right.
You know, like if
Right.
they disclose it, that's on them.
Right.
I will never
You will
disclose it.
never. Right.
But 30,000 pounds of comics. It's literally right below me right now.
Wow.
An entire bay of my garage is full of comics. I have multiple racks from Home Depot with these long boxes on it.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
crazy, man.
It's a lot of books.
Whew.
It's
Man.
a lot of books.
Man, it's so much. It's so much. I I planned on tapping into, man. We don't have a lot of time. I know you keep it high and tight. You're a family man, so
Yeah.
definitely appreciate you coming on. We still got a
Yes.
couple minutes though. So yeah, man. One thing I ran into on your website, and I've seen you mention periodically on the channel, is GarageCon.
Yeah.
I was a little dismayed last year. I wasn't able to make it. I'm a little out of tune as to what's going on this year. So I said this is a good opportunity for him to let us all know what it is and then get me acclimated as to whether it just happened. Because I know you're trying to do Novembers, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, I might miss this year too. I might have missed it. but-
Always before Thanksgiving.
Ah,
Yeah.
Not
It's always before Thanksgiving and
Okay.
always after my father's birthday.
okay.
So my
Okay.
father's birthday is November 6th.
All
and
right.
Thanksgiving is, so it's always between
It's
those
in that
days.
window. Okay.
Yeah, but GarageCon, it started in California, and it's literally a intimate gathering of people that associate with the channel, and they have a chance to come to my house and just hang out, and we talk comics. We talk about whatever's top of mind for folks, right? People that are Patreon members have an opportunity to actually come here into my comic book room and sit in a chair and take photos. They get to see my Sugar box. For those that don't know, an Sugar box is when stuff goes bad and you need to get out your house. It is the box you grab. Sugar, the Sugar is not sugar. It's when it hits the fan.
Yeah.
That's the box or two that you grab, right? So
Yep.
people have a chance to come here, hang out, see the collection, go through the Sugar box, and just socialize. And I think this is our 5th or 6th GarageCon. We did it all through the pandemic. We were like, hey man, if you're feeling ill, don't come. But if you
Right.
if you want to come, so we have people that come from Canada, people that literally get on flights and come. It's almost always a really intimate group of people that just want to come and hang, not just with me, but with each other. Right? These guys go out to dinner the night before, they have some activities, they go for coffee after. People have a good time, man. That's what
I believe it,
GarageCon
man.
is.
I mean, whenever I pop in the channel and I'm in the live chat, man, you can tell that there's at least 10, 15, maybe 20 people
Hardcore.
that, yeah, and they all know each other and they're like cracking their own little side jokes. And then
Yep.
of course, I'm sure you made some of the mods and they keep some of the knuckleheads in chat that,
Yep.
in check that want to come through the chat. And it's like a tight knit community to itself over there, man. So
Yep.
that's why I say, you guys, you're definitely gonna want to head over to his channel and check it out, man. It's a great experience. I always have a good time, learn something, laugh. Um,
We gonna have a good time.
Bro, the last live was so funny, man. You was touching on the speculation of a female Silver Surfer, and then you had people saying craziness in the chats. It was just, oh
I was on fire.
yeah, that was a great stream. I really
The thing about it, man, is the people that surround the channel, in my opinion, are just representative of the comic book community.
Mhm.
People that don't have comic book friends in the real world. So
Right.
through the channel, they have come together. And especially during the pandemic, we used to do pandemic live streams, man, 220 people during the pandemic. And you still had a hardcore group of people. We call them the Gibbon Gang, and they are just good people. And I think I've met the people you're probably referencing. I've met every single one of them
I could tell.
multiple times.
Exactly.
Just good people. And
Right.
they keep it interesting, man. They keep it fun. And the goal is to try to create a safe environment for people to come together and just have fun. There's enough
Mhm.
negativity out there, to your point. There's enough knuckleheads out there. We just want to have a good time. And with
Right.
this last live stream, man, sometimes I just let it fly.
That was
I just
that was so good.
I just go.
Just keep it right there as long as you can, because oh man, that one I enjoyed it, man. We were going into the movies, we got Miss Marvel, so it was a lot to cover, man. If you guys, all I can tell you is go back and check it out, man. It's on his channel. I guarantee you'll be entertained, man. So back to the whole VV thing and
Yeah.
digital collecting, man. What are your thoughts overall on digital collecting, and are you familiar with the new project? Because we went over Masters of the Universe. We're both fans of that IP. Are you familiar with the new project called Cryptoys? And if so, what do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think VV is a very interesting thing, right?
Mhm, mhm.
I view it as another aspect of collecting
Right,
that people should at least familiarize themselves with.
right,
And it might not be for you the same way comic collecting might not be for you, the same way you're like, well, I'm a Silver Age person, not a modern person, right? It's
right,
another aspect of collecting
that's
that
right,
you should at least investigate.
right,
I think it's cool.
right,
I think it's cool to be able to have a digital version of a comic that I probably already own, but it's on my phone,
right.
and I can flip through it. I think it's cool. And then to be able to get some of the rare and secret stuff that they have,
Mhm.
it's just fun.
Yeah,
What does the future hold for VV or any other NFT? I don't know,
mhm.
but I'm having fun, right? The
Right,
same way, like, I buy comics. I don't know if those comics are going to be worth any money, but I'm
exactly.
enjoying buying it and reading it and owning it. And if something comes from it, great. If nothing
Great.
comes from it, it is what it is, right?
Right.
There's a lot of folks out there that don't get it, but it's
Mhm.
potentially because they choose not to.
That's a fact.
There's a lot of people that don't get comic book collecting, right? Because
Sure.
they choose not to. You have to make a choice. If you want
Mhm.
to get it, if you want to read about it, if you want to understand it, you have to spend the time doing the research. And I
Mhm.
have, and I enjoy it. But to answer your question directly, I just took a new job and it is all consuming. Like, I have
Ooh.
comics that I have not read
Oh,
just because like,
yes.
this has got to work. If you know
Right.
what I mean, like,
Right. I
this has
do.
got to go right.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
no, I'm way behind on everything. I haven't even
Okay.
been releasing as much content because I'm so behind, like, so trying to focus on this new gig. But what did you call it?
Oh, so this new project, and I'm actually a brand ambassador for
Crypto toy,
Cryptoys. So
crypto
these are
toys.
Cryptoys, and their IP so far is they have their own, but they also are with Star Wars and Disney as well.
Ah, those little
So
things are cool. That thing was cute. I'm talking.
Yeah, man. That Darth Maul, boy.
That's cool
Ooh,
right
got the
there.
spider legs.
Did I just see Oracle?
You did, man. And Orko's one of my favorites. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Everything is a game when I say I'm a Masters of the Universe nut. So the thing I like about these is it's like a blind box format. You basically get a cube, and then when you open the cube, you end up with one of these like hanger packs.
Okay.
So you can see here I have a Darth Maul. I have the common. That's just him with the legs. Where he got a leg chopped off.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, forget your couch, Eddie. Um, and he got
Hold
the
on, hold on. So I was just telling that joke. I was at Thanksgiving and my sister had this new couch,
uh,
and I was like, I'm about to tear your couch up.
F your couch. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. So yeah, we got the Star Wars, we got the Mickey and Friends series,
And these are all official license, yeah?
yes sir, yes sir.
That's what's
So
up.
yeah, man. So they started off with Mattel, and that's when
Yeah.
they dropped the Motu. Let me get to my Motus.
And this
So
is your back. Is that
yeah,
your
this is my
backpack, your
backpack.
collection?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So I
cool.
got my Prince Adam over here,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
right here is their own IP as well. So they have the
Cool.
ZUFOs.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're mainly like patterned after animals, pets, you know, furry friends, all that
Yeah,
good
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, we got the Vader over here with the cracked skull.
Can we
We got-
open that up? Can we see what's inside?
Hey, we can, man.
Do you
Let me
have
do
any
an
that's open?
unboxing.
Do you
Yeah.
have any? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have some that's opened actually. I have a couple here. Now what's dope about them as well is they have what's known as the block.
Okay.
Um so you can actually play with some of these on a block, and yes, your boy does have an Orko.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna let you see what it's like, man. We hop on the
In
block. And
1983 was the release. Is that what I'm
yes,
seeing? Okay.
yes. So yeah, man, you could hop on a block, and
That's
you know,
cool.
this is just to let people know like things are in development, and
That's cool.
love the quality. You know, they're gonna be coming out with all types of mini games and things you could do.
Yep. That's the cool thing, man. A lot of this stuff is so early on, like you don't
Right.
know where it's going to go.
That's
You
right.
have no clue what the future holds. Like I look at it like this, man. There were a lot of non parents or parents not like Sheila and Fred, right? that just threw people's collections away.
Yeah.
Right? Who knew that those comics from the 60s,
Oh.
70s, 80s, 90s were actually going to be worth money now?
Oh,
Like who
man.
knew?
Right.
This again is an unknown. Who knows what the future holds for some of these crypto toys and NFTs? We don't know. And it's like if you have a favorite character or characters, you can own them in multiple ways, right? You can
Right.
own them physically, you can own them digitally, you can own them in the form of a comic or an action figure or whatever. Have fun. Like
Exactly.
life is way too short.
I'm telling you, to be arguing. It's like, you know, back in the day, everybody used to be like, oh, I'm a Nintendo guy. Someone else would be like, oh, I'm a Sega guy, you know. And I used to have that one friend in the neighborhood whose parents could afford all the
All of
consoles.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, damn, why do I have to choose? I don't have to choose. It all comes down to my money or just
You
what
see
I
what I'm
like.
saying? And I think a lot of folks want to create more division than what is
Right.
necessary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like Hulk 180 and 181. I own
Right.
both. I
Right.
don't care. I don't care. Right? You can almost always tell what somebody has because they argue in that point real hard. I just sit there and watch it because I'm like,
Right.
I own
I'm
both.
good either way. Right.
Figure it out.
Right. Let
But
me know.
right. It's one of those things, man, where I just think that, like, if we take a step back from it and realize that we're all nerds and
That's
we're
right.
all buying nerdy stuff. Like,
Right.
so who cares? Why draw more division to make
Within-
your group smaller?
Right. You're
Make
making
it
something
bigger.
niche. Right.
Right.
Something niche, even a smaller niche.
Even
like,
it's like
oh,
a slice,
goodness.
right? Like make it bigger.
Yes.
Like
Right.
there are certain comics that I don't like. It's
Right,
not my
and
jam.
Exactly.
But it's your
not gonna-
jam.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's all funny pages with drawings and words. So I'm going to enjoy it because you're enjoying it, even though
Right.
it's not my jam. Somebody
My
gave me
thing.
a Flintstone. One of my guys, Chuck, gave me a Flintstone comic.
Right.
Flintstones isn't my jam.
Right. But
he
I'm gonna hold it
loves
down.
He
Right.
loves it. And I
Right.
appreciate the gift that he gave me because that's his
Exactly.
jam. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man. Like last year, one of my boys, I transferred him a VV comic so he could, kind of understand.
Yeah.
And then I also hit him with a PSA sports card of a
Yep.
rookie,
Yep.
and he's into neither one. And I could tell he just appreciated because it was almost like I'm giving him a piece of myself more than it being a present of
Yes.
something that you already collect or you're into. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And hopefully you'll hold it down and it has some sort of sentimental value in that regard as well. Kind of like the Flintstones comic, I think would, like you're gonna bag and board it and treat it as good as all your other books that
Right.
mean something to you, even though you're not killing yourself to thumb through the pages.
But I will remember Chuck because of that comic. The
Exactly.
same way that I remember Deacon Thurman, who
Right.
gave me a Shaq rookie card
Right.
when I was like 10. I
Oh
don't even
man.
like sports, but I
Right.
still have the Shaq rookie card that Deacon
Exactly.
Thurman gave me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You
Oh,
appreciate this stuff because it means a lot to the person that is giving the gift. And maybe as you evolve, right? I'm not even
Right.
gonna say grow up, but I'm
Right.
saying evolve.
Wow. Right.
Maybe you will appreciate that thing later in life.
That's
Like
a
there's a
fact.
chance my boy will love Shaq, and I'd be like, here,
Right.
Deacon Thurman gave me this. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
now you can treasure
Wow.
it because it came
Right.
from your dad who got it from a,
Right. And
So
see, that's what helps the younger generations actually look at the people that came before them as far as
yes,
athletes and stuff like that and have a certain understanding and gain their own roots and footing for these players and things from the past, man. Um
that's all that comics are, brother. It's the past.
right.
It's a
How much
connection to the past.
how much time do we got? Because I got different clocks telling me different things. I know we were trying to
Let's go. Let's go
an
for a couple
hour.
more minutes. We can go
I
for another.
appreciate you, man, because I got
Yeah,
some great other things I want to ask.
yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm glad you got to at least check out Cryptoys. I think that they are a new major player on the block. They're gonna have a lot of gamification coming. They don't have a marketplace yet, but that's soon as they say. It's definitely high on their priority list. So yeah, man, once you brought up Masters of the Universe, I'm like, that's the one thing that's not on Vivi, and I think he could appreciate somewhat.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a dope unboxing experience, like you saw somewhere in the hanger packs, and then
yeah.
somewhere out. And when you actually do decide that you want to unbox it, it's a whole experience, and they're
That's
all
cool.
different from each other. So like Mattel's unboxing is different than Star Wars, which is different than Mickey. It's amazing, and I mean, for them to come out the gate and lock down those three major
That's
IP
big.
is
That's big.
can't get any bigger than that. Anybody else is like that should be just easy to lock down, I would think.
Yeah.
And Mattel was one of the first to jump on board, and not only did they lend them the IP, but they also invested in the company. So that's when I really took
Oh,
note.
check that out.
Yeah, I said nobody's ever really done that like that. So a lot of people were expecting like after Motu to like for us to get Barbies or something,
Yeah,
or even some Hot Wheels, which I definitely see coming. Especially once they get the game aspect going, or even like the block you saw,
yeah.
being able to make tracks and make your own stuff. Oh, it's gonna get lit because I believe games are gonna be what brings the masses over into these projects, or just the ability to interact with the digital collectibles in a way different way than we're even thinking right now. I'm thinking like 10 years out, as fast as technology moves, and all these companies are working directly with Apple, and we're in a bear market, so don't expect any of these companies to show the best that they have right
Right
now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
now is the time to just lay low, keep your head down, and work.
Yep.
And that's what I see them doing.
What's funny is I met one of the guys at the VV party, and I said,
Mhm.
because you weren't the only person I had a good conversation with, because I was,
I imagine.
talking to a couple of people, and
Right.
said, like, what do you think is going to unlock the potential of VV
Right.
and
Good question.
NFTs and stuff? And he said, as soon as you can flex it. And I was like, what?
Right.
Because he had an accent. I was like, what you say? He said, as soon as you can flex it. He was
Right.
like, imagine, you people coming over to your house for a party or a get together, and you can show them this thing. Like, they don't own it, but they can see it in. I'm like,
Right.
to your point about gamification,
Right.
if you can find a way to take it and make it a more immersive, enjoyable entertainment type of thing, I
Mhm.
think that's when you're going to start to see more people coming to it that might not be collectors,
Right.
but want to have some fun. And
Exactly.
they're like, well, I need this to have some fun, so I'm going to
Right.
get that, because it looks, So
Right.
I think that the future is really interesting for a lot of this stuff. And what I don't want to do is to be the person 10 years from now or whenever
Mm,
saying
mm.
shoulda, woulda, coulda. I wish I had.
Yeah,
I,
we've
I
been
wish
there.
I wish I had bought that. Like we've all been there,
We've
right?
been
Like
there.
this
It
this is
hurts.
potentially your moment right now
That's
where
right.
you can be buying some of this stuff. But if you have that us versus them, or that's a stupid thing, or I don't
Right.
get it,
Right.
that's how you miss the boat.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact. Oof. Glad you touched on that, man. What do your friends and family think about your collection?
That's good. So you know, my friends and family my family talks a lot about my collection to other people.
Right.
Like I meet friends of my parents and they're like, "Oh, you're the collector." I'm like, "Oh,
Wow, the collector.
I
Right.
was, what my parents tell you." You know, they're like my dad we just had a surprise party for for my father's birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I met some of his work friends. And they were like, "Oh, you're the collector's son." I was like, "Ooh,
Hilarious. You
ooh."
that collector boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And my parents have invited their friends to my house for Garage Con in
Oh wow.
last year. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
wow. So now they're seeing
So
firsthand.
yeah, so I think my family I think they understand that I enjoy it. You know,
Mhm.
they even participate in it. My dad dressed up as Morpheus for Garage Con one year.
Hilarious.
My parents will occasionally come over and like bag and board, you know, like
Wow.
because you know I put out for those that don't know, I also self-publish a couple of comics. So my parents will come over and bag and board the comics for me, you know, so they participate. My sisters have helped with shipping, you
Right.
know, so they get involved, man. My friends are more into like not comics, you know,
Okay.
they're like
I
they're
got you.
other stuff, so they don't really appreciate it. But
Mhm.
one of my best buddies, who was also a member of my fraternity, we were on the same line. He's a CPA. He came on the channel and spoke about collectors and paying taxes.
I remember that.
So that was where
I
my
remember
two
that.
worlds kind of crossed.
Collided,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I remember that.
Um, but yeah, Rodney's been you know, we crossed the sands together, and you know, lifelong friend at this point. But he came on and gave people some advice on how to make sure you're paying your taxes and don't get yourself
Sure did.
jammed up. You know what
Sure
I'm
did. He
saying?
had me shook to death, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was sitting there nervous, checking invoices and
Yeah,
eBay
yeah,
this, man. I said, "Oh snap! This dude put
yeah.
it in perspective, man."
I
I
may
was,
I may have him come back on because we're
you
getting
should,
to that time of the year. So I
you
was
should.
literally thinking about the other day, especially with the IRS pushing back that law
Thank
that
God.
where they've got you know, the whole $600
Yeah,
requirement,
yeah,
1099s and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Even with that delay, I think that there's still a lot of collectors that have been buying and selling comics over the
Yes,
last year that might benefit from a
yes,
refresher
yes.
on taxes. So
Absolutely. I know Neo. He just touched on that. He had a little episode touching on the, you know, and he made a good point about how they really shot too low to where it hurts like the most just average common person,
yeah, yeah,
and they're gonna have to try and find a nice happy medium.
yeah.
But I'm glad you brought up you putting out some books, man. So let's tap back in, man. I know you have a publishing company, Swolger Publishing.
Yep.
Can you speak about when you got it started, and did you already have experience with business? Like, were you scared to get it started? Like, you know, was it your first biz, and what was that like?
So I've had several side businesses, and technically Regie Collects is a side business, right? It's
Hmm.
and I run it like a business. And Regie
Hmm.
Collects is actually owned by Fit Bodies, which is another business.
Wow.
You know, the wife and I used to import fitness equipment when I was bodybuilding, and so I have all kinds of exercise equipment with my likeness and her likeness on it because we were both competitors. So not
Right.
my first business, right?
Right.
Um, but we ended up doing the publishing thing because of somebody that is core to the channel, Doug Bratton. Doug
Mm.
came to me with this idea of writing a guide to comic collecting. And his idea was to take a lot of the video content that I was creating and turn it into a book. Basically, take what I did in video and
Yes.
put it
Why not?
in written form.
All the information's right there.
And that's what we did. The very first
Wow.
one that we released during the pandemic was, I think it was like 80 pages, 90 pages. And it was literally a combination of video content that I had put out there that we, built out and embellished, right? And
Yes.
blog posts that he had been writing about the hobby. We put those two things together. We put the book out there. We sold 4,200 copies
Wow.
of this guide. Um, we then did a second follow-up, and with the success of the guide, that gave me the confidence that when he pitched me this idea a couple of years ago for a comic that he had written during the pandemic, I was like, let's do it. And technically, he wrote a novel during the pandemic. We've taken the novel and turned it into a comic.
Wow.
And we've put out 4 issues already.
Mm.
And we are trying to get a larger publisher, to pick
Yes.
up the 4 and put it together as a graphic novel to put out
Right.
there.
Right.
But we have that comic is called Isolation, and with the success of Isolation, we've released a second comic called Marcus. Just 1 issue of that so far, but thousands of issues of these comics have been created and sold into the comic book community, all because of a YouTube channel that I created a couple of years ago.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
It's crazy.
That's that's something else, man. Man, I got like 4 more good ones I gotta ask.
Go
man.
for it. Go for it.
So, if someone came up to you right now and they said they wanted to start investing in comics right now, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that they need to figure out what investing really looks like for them. Right? Like what does that mean, really? Right?
Mhm.
What type of, why are you choosing to invest? What type of books do you want to invest in? How much money are you trying to spend? How long are you looking to invest for? Because some
Mm,
people say flipping is investing. No, investing is investing. That means
right,
longer term in my
right.
mind.
That's right.
Speculating is flipping, which is on
That's right.
this side of the investing spectrum, right? So, like, really, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Those would be some of the basic things. I think sometimes when people ask me that question, they want me to rattle off books. I tend to ask people more questions to really understand what they're trying to do, and then we can get to that part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yep.
So I think people have to ask themselves a couple of questions, like to the point that I've already made, about what they're really trying to do. And then once they can understand that, then they need to write out a plan. What's
Hmm.
your plan? Right?
Hmm.
Are you going to sell some other stuff that you have in order to raise the money for your investment? Are you going to take it away from your family? Are you going to save it up from your job? Like, how are you going to raise the capital? You're going to buy
Hmm.
some inexpensive books to then sell to save that money to buy something more expensive. Like, what is your actual plan?
Right.
And
There's
then
so much to
more,
dig into.
there's a lot. And then moreover, like, you're not going to make a ton of money right away, potentially.
Right. Right.
Right? Like, you're not about to make 100 grand right
Right.
away. Like,
Yeah.
so I would have a lot of questions. And if there really is someone out there that has that question, reach out to me on Instagram, Regie Collects.
Right.
We can have a conversation and be ready, because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
Right. Right. And I mean, not to have everybody jumping in your inbox, but I
Yeah.
gotta say, man, this man is not Hollywood, at least not yet. I don't think he ever will turn Hollywood. He's just too real, man. But yeah, if you have any questions, just like me, hop up in the IG, shoot him a message, man.
I will respond. You leave a comment on a video, I will respond.
Absolutely. Hey, I appreciate you. Commented back on the last one. I saw,
And here's my thing with that. If you take the time to watch my content
Mhm.
and leave a question or comment behind, the least I can do is read it and say,
It's-
I read it, I acknowledge it. And if there's a question, then I'm going to respond to that question, right? Like, I get a lot from reading the comments, because through the exchange, I get ideas for the next video.
Ooh,
And it allows me to keep a pulse of what's
awesome.
happening in the hobby. People always say, well, how do you always know? Because I pay attention. I know what's going on because I pay attention. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, but again, it's one of those courtesy things. If you ask me a question, you get an answer. You might not like it,
Right.
but you'll get one.
Right, but you'll get one. That's the main thing. I definitely see you in there. If not commenting, definitely you hit the like. You know what I
Definitely hit them
mean?
like,
It's
yeah,
that sign of acknowledgement. That's what
yep,
a lot of people just really want at the end of the day.
yes,
So that engagement, man, I see it there. Man, I kind of wanted to ask you this before we got on stream,
yeah.
but ran out of time and stuff. So I don't expect you to have anything on deck. But what would you say are your most recent pickups, comics wise? I know you haven't been tapped into reading a lot of stuff that you might have on deck, but what have you picked up recent?
One of them's on the wall behind me. When is this video
Mm,
out? When is this going to be released?
this will be released at least by this Wednesday coming
Okay.
up.
All right, so I can maybe beat you to the punch.
All right.
X-Men 4 back there is new.
Ooh.
I just picked X-Men 4 up. That is a 4.0 with white pages. I just unboxed it. I think it was 2 days ago. I did a
Oof.
video. I think it was like 2 days ago. So that's
Yeah.
what I just added. I also just picked up um Blue Marvel #1 9.8. I already own two Blue Marvels #1s, but I don't own a 9.8.
Right.
And then I also have X-Men 266 9.8 coming in the mail.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
in my opinion, to your point about this being a little bit of a down market, in
Mhm.
my opinion, if you have the ability to be contrarian, and if you have
Mhm.
the financial resources to do so, now is a great time to pick up some books.
Oh
Not
yeah.
not when the market is flying high at all-time highs.
Exactly.
That's when people want to jump in, right?
Yep. Yep.
Now is the time to buy.
Yep.
And that's why I'm picking up certain books right now because of that.
I see you. And just so you know, X-Men #4 is one of my favorites on the VV app. I think it's highly slept on just because they minted a lot, but no matter what they mint on the VV, it's nothing in comparison to physicals.
Yeah,
And just so you know, they are dropping X-Men #3 on the app, which I think is the first appearance of the Blob.
that's not on the
Um,
wall, but I do have that over there in the
you
box.
got it right.
Yeah,
I figured you covered a lot
yeah.
of the single digit X-Men's because man, that art. Oh,
I actually have I think I have two copies of the VV X-Men 4.
okay.
I think I got like the Scarlet Witch white cover and
Yeah, I
one
got
other
that
one.
one where she's pointing like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
I
And
got
I think
that
I have
too.
one other, but that one is the one that's in my mind at the moment,
Right,
you know.
right,
But again,
absolutely.
to me, going back, it's the cool thing of having the digital version and the physical version, and then maybe you'll have the card too of it. It's just
That's me.
it's just cool, man.
That's
It's
me.
cool. Some
Yeah,
people even take it so far to get the action figure and they
yeah.
pose it all together.
Oh yeah.
Man, just have fun.
That's what
Have
it's
fun,
about,
you
man.
know?
It's fun in these different mediums. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just happened to bleeding over into a digital format now, and there is a lot of utility and things that could be done with having these things versus a physical. Like
Yeah. You don't need
if
an old
someone
sugar box.
right now, you don't need that. Imagine if somebody says next year, like, "Yo, we're throwing a party, a separate VV party. You got to have, X-Men #4 on the
Yep.
app,
Yep.
to get
I'm
access."
good.
Right. And then if you happen to be holding a couple, you
Yeah.
might see the price rise just because someone announced some utility. You know what I mean? And that's
Never know.
different because back in the day, I think it affected real comics more than now. It used to be like if you just heard that they were, making a TV series or making the character into a real life movie, yeah, it would shoot up. But I've seen that happen less and less over time. Like I dove into a couple of Black Panther #1s
Yeah.
as soon as I heard the movie drop, and when the
Yep.
movie dropped, it didn't really affect the book price too tough. You know what I'm saying? But we were also starting to come out of that high that we were on as well into more of the market we're into today. So
You saw this book do something, right? The first appearance of Black Panther. That book
yes,
has
yes,
been high since 2018. I mean,
right,
roughly, right? Like
yes,
roughly
roughly,
speaking, because
yes,
of the rumor of the Black Panther movie, then the
yes,
Black Panther movie, then Chadwick Boseman passing, then they
right,
had Black Panther 2. Like that book was
right.
high for a while. And it was one book that I had on my list in like 2018 that I did not get until like 2022.
Mm,
I think it was like 2022, 2023
mhm.
before I actually picked up the first appearance of Black Panther. So it was
Sick.
it was more than what I wanted to pay.
Sick.
You
Yeah. So
know,
you had to kind of wait for it to simmer and cool down a little bit. That's how it is even on the app. I'm sure you guys out there could relate. There's that piece out there that costs a couple hundred or 1,000. And you just gotta watch the market, man. If things are showing you a downward trend,
yep.
then you have more belief to think that it's going to still go that way,
Yep.
especially you look at the global conditions. I don't see thousands of dollars of disposable income just falling into the average person's hands, and it kind of takes a little bit of the average person to divert some of their funds into these alternative investments or collections, and
Dirty.
then that's when we start seeing the bump.
Doc, you're dirty for using those
I'm
words.
sorry.
When I started using alternative
Yeah,
investments about
I
comics,
know. Oh,
woo, people lost
oh,
their minds. I don't care. It's true. It's true.
thank you. Thank
It's
you.
true. The
It
books
is.
on my wall are alternative investments that I
Yes.
get to enjoy.
Right.
And I have fun. And yeah, I have stocks and bonds and mutual funds and
Right.
golds and all. I got it all. But
Exactly.
I'm also going to have some comics, and yes, they are investments.
Thank you.
It is
See,
what it is.
it is what it is,
And you
man.
can try to call me not a real collector, and that would be a mistake,
Exactly.
right? It would
Especially
just
with what's under your feet, buddy.
it would just be a
mean,
mistake, because I am a true collector.
right.
And what makes somebody a true collector versus not collector? Is it because they buy raw books versus slab? Is it because they buy digital versus physical? Like,
There you
we're
go.
all collectors, man.
Well, here's the biggest debate going on, especially in the digital collecting space, is that there's almost a fine line or no line between being a collector and a flipper for some reason to people. And I think it's just because they were not real collectors as kids. And what made us originally collectors is there was no simple market to just, even if you had a comic and it went up, you were so young, there
Yeah.
was no official medium to sell your books.
And
So
if
it's
you
different.
did, you probably got taken advantage of.
There you go. I know a lot of people that had sports cars. They had no idea what they had. It
Yep.
was just a different time.
Yep.
So, I guess if they're referring to younger people, quote unquote, collecting, most younger people are going to have a slash flippers mentality just because it's a different day and age. Like there's markets to sell everything that you can buy.
And
You know,
who cares?
there you go.
If you have some books that in your collection that you don't like, and you want to sell those books in order to buy something else, who cares? If you have books in your collection and you don't want them and you want to sell them to pay bills, who cares?
Wow.
Like, who cares? Is a comic shop a flipper?
Absolutely.
Comic shops and dealers make money selling comics every day. They're not bad people. They're a business. And it's like, I don't care whether somebody buys a comic for the art or for the story inside.
Right.
I need people to buy comics.
Right.
Because if they buy comics, then maybe the comic that I want gets made, so I get to enjoy it. We need to be more inclusive. And that's again why I push back against, people that hate VV. Some of the people that buy VV buy comics. Some of the people that buy VV may buy comics in the future. So why not be open to those people? Because maybe those are the future comic book readers and collectors that you're talking to, that you're potentially looking down on. You know what I'm saying?
That what's funny? That actually has played out. When the comics first came to the app, a lot of people were saying, "Oh well, we're getting a lot of grails," and "Oh, wait till the real comic collectors come over here," because it's certain books that people may not understand the importance of a first appearance of this person or that person. So some people are like, "Oh, you guys are disrespecting the book because of how low you're willing to sell it on the market," and they're like, wait till the real comic collectors get here. And then for like the first year, everybody was talking to real comic book collectors and they were like, I don't want to collect that way. But what they didn't see coming were how many people that never collected in their life, and they were going to comic book shops trying to pair physicals with the digital that they had first.
Yep.
And they're like, now I'm a comic book collector. I never was.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an aspect people really anticipated.
What's a comic collector? Is somebody that has a box with a comic in it. Like you can slice it all kinds of ways. It's a box with a comic. That's a comic collector.
Right.
And you're real because you're a real person. Like,
There you
people
go.
have to relax
Yep.
and stop drawing lines between us. It's like, let's just enjoy this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. While we're here, we're
While we're
only
here,
here.
right?
Yeah, that quick, man.
And I'm hoping one of my stuff's in my will. All my comics are in my will, right? In terms of my kids can have the cash equivalent or they can have the comics, but it's all in the will, right?
Right.
And I hope that they will treasure them. If not, somebody's gonna have a nice car and or a nice house,
Right. One of the
right?
two.
Like, or both. It'll be,
Yeah.
it'll be some of those things. But I think that people have to stop drawing these lines and just start, appreciating the people that show up to try to participate in whatever way they show up. Like, you can't decide how someone shows up.
Right.
That's, like,
It doesn't even.
meet them where they are and be receptive to them. And
Right.
maybe you can learn from them and they can learn from you. Like relax. It's comics.
Exactly. Man. So one of my, I would say, not my favorite TV shows when I was growing up, but the concept was so out there that that's what had me watching was Doctor Who. And if we could jump into the TARDIS, phone booth and go back in time to a place, or even go future to a time and place, where would you go?
If I can go back in time, as it relates to the hobby you're referring to.
No, just you. Like, if you could go anywhere, relive a moment, or see something that was before our time, in a place, you know what I mean?
For me, man, it comes down to family. You know what I'm saying? If I could go back in time, I would go back to when my great grandfather was still alive. He went by the name Bud. And my great grandfather, I never saw him in something other than slacks and a dress shirt, or not overalls, but cover ups.
Okay.
Like
okay.
the automotive. Like the automotive cover-up.
Yeah.
Because he did a lot of yard work and stuff in his garage, so he always had a full body cover-up.
Right.
But I used to spend a lot of time with my great grandparents, and my great grandfather showed me how to use a hammer and how to use a drill, how to paint. I used to pump water from his well at his house. Those were just some amazing memories, and I don't know if I spent as much time with him as I should have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He passed of cancer, like, when I was still young, and as he was passing away in the hospital, he asked for his wallet so that he could give me money.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Like, that's the kind of man that he was. Helped found a church, all this kind of stuff. Just super religious man, just wonderful man. So I would go back to spend more time with him. If I could go forward,
Yes.
I would want to see, like, you don't know what the future holds, right? So if I could go forward, I would go forward to see how my children turn out.
That's awesome.
Right. Like, for me, the goal is to take my children from where they are to adulthood as, like, happy, contributing members of society.
That's right.
And I make a lot of mistakes generally as a parent, right? But I'm hoping I do well when you do look at the overall.
Yes.
I like to see them as adults and see how they turn out. That would be cool.
Awesome, man. Ooh, I feel like I literally was in the TARDIS just now, and I was envisioning all types of stuff. It's spinning around that little ass box, man.
I don't know a thing about Doctor Who, so I'm glad you explained what that was about.
I had to just to be sure. Some of the viewers would be like, "What the hell is he talking about, man?"
I was like, Doctor Who, please don't ask me a question about that.
Yeah, please, Lord.
I did just sell a couple of Doctor Who comics on whatnot, but that's the extent of my Doctor Who knowledge.
Right. Oh man, so you got a channel on Whatnot as well?
Yeah. I haven't been selling for a while, again, because of this new job. But yeah, I was hot and heavy on the Whatnot for a
Okay.
while. So generally speaking, on most social media, if you search for Regie Collects, you will
Yeah,
find me there.
find
Right.
you right. Same here, same here. I gotta definitely tap in with you on the whatnot level because I gotta prove there's a seller myself,
Yeah.
but I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be in your inbox asking questions.
All
So
good, brother. I help you if I can. You know that.
I appreciate it, man. So last question,
Yep.
and I know what your previous answer was to this question from our first interview, but I just want to see if anything has happened to see if it's changed or
Yeah.
anything. The last question is, do you believe in extraterrestrial life? And if so, why? And if not, why?
I'm so glad that you asked me a question I actually could be consistent on the answer with, because
I know the answer.
sometimes, depending upon the day, my answer may go awry.
Right, right.
You know, I don't know what else is out there, right? Like, you know, I believe in God and I come from a religious family.
Right,
So I can't assume that I know everything that exists.
right.
You know, I like sci-fi movies, and if some aliens ever show up on Earth and they don't have good intentions, I am
Right,
prepared to handle business.
right.
But I don't know what's out there, brother. I have no clue. I
Okay.
have no clue. But I'm ready if they show up.
All right, all right. See, that's different than when we tapped in like a year ago. It was a flat out no back then. I said, damn, he left no room for possibilities. Captain Kirk and all of them is just in the wrong ball game, man.
Yeah, it depends on how feisty I am. Like, no,
Right,
I don't know if there's aliens out there, bro. I really don't.
right.
You know, Elon's trying to go to Mars, man. Who knows what Elon
Lord.
might find on Mars?
Oh,
But again, if aliens show up, I've watched enough alien
right. To keep a
superhero.
glass of water to the side just in case.
Bruh,
You know,
I'm ready.
all of
I'm
that.
ready.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm ready. I'm ready for all possibilities if something show up, right?
Right.
Terrorists or ETs, I'm ready.
Right. We got the
Let's go.
boogie bag ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. I like it.
I got an old sugar box, but I got some
Right.
other boxes and bags around here too. So I prepare, brother. I prepare
Oh,
for all
yeah.
instances.
Right, right. That's the best way to be. Like you said, man, prepare for anything and everything,
There you go.
But Reggie, man, I don't want to keep you any longer. Oh man, I'm so appreciative you were able to come through, man.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
My
And if you
pleasure.
guys don't know, like I said, check out his channel. It is the best comic book YouTube channel out there in the space, man. He's been doing this for a while, and he always got you covered with the new info on everything going on, man. So man, hope to have you on again so we can chop it up some more. I got tons more questions, of course. So much to learn from you. So yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, man. And thank you once again, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So that's it, man. So for now, your man, Dr. Strange, Regie Collects Comics. All Things Strange is out.